Last time we talked about a couple of different things, so let's review them each in turn. We started out talking about Iqbal and its effects on standards for pleading in a complaint, so the requirements under Rule 8. You'll recall that Rule 8 requires you to give a short and plain statement indicating that you are eligible for legal relief, but Iqbal changes the meaning of those words to some extent, or you might say it specifies what those words have really meant all along. That's what Iqbal says it's doing. And what it means to comport with the requirements of Rule 8 now is that the plaintiff must give the defendant fair notice of what the claim is and the grounds upon which it rests, and that moreover, a formulaic recitation of the elements of a cause of action will not do. So you'll recall in an earlier case we read, Bell v. Novick, one of the cases we started off the term with, just that really simple car collision in which a child was hurt. And the complaint based on that case that we read, Peters v. Dodge, right, our kind of fictional complaint, that basically said defendant was driving negligently and injured plaintiff as a result. That kind of is a formulaic recitation of the elements of a cause of action, which say that negligence in tort is a breach of a legal duty through negligence. So Iqbal is asking for more than just saying the defendant comported with the requirements for liability under the law. You need something more in terms of the facts that you are pleading. At the same time, Iqbal says that the judge is still supposed to assume that the facts pled are true, but they are not supposed to assume that the legal conclusions are true. And they are supposed to decide whether the factual assertions plausibly give rise to eligibility for relief. So what does that plausibility consist of? What does plausible mean under Iqbal? So the judge is supposed to identify those pleadings that are just conclusions and not assume that they are true. Those are just legal conclusions, and they don't warrant the assumption at the pleading stage of correctness. The judge is supposed to assume that well-pleaded factual allegations are true, and then to decide whether they plausibly give rise to relief. How does the judge evaluate plausibility? Well, that is a context-specific task that requires the reviewing court to draw on its judicial experience and common sense. That's a pretty subjective standard. And it's a little bit unclear, actually, from the way Iqbal describes it, whether the court is supposed to draw on the judge's experience and their own personal individual common sense, or whether they're supposed to draw on the experience of the courts and the common sense of the courts as an institution. But there are a lot of things that are unclear about this standard. It's, I would say, among the most criticized standards in civil procedure. And there's still a lot of contention and argument about what its effects are as a factual matter, what its effects ought to be, and whether it's a reasonable way of elaborating on the requirements of Rule 8. But in any event, we have to talk this language. So when we argue about a complaint, whether to defend it or to try to dismiss it, we are appealing to the judicial experience and common sense of our reviewing court and asking them to act based on factual assertions that do or don't meet a level of plausibility. Okay,